The mind you didn't choose. Part 1. The passenger seat. Introduction. Before we start, there's a kind of tiredness that has nothing to do with the body. You did nothing all day. You sat at a desk, you drove somewhere, you answered messages, and by evening you're worn out in a way sleep doesn't fix, because the thing that's tired isn't your legs. Something has been running all day, and you weren't the one running it. Most of us blame the phone, the noise, the pace. Those don't help. But the noise inside is far older than any of them. People described it precisely 2,500 years ago, sitting in forests with nothing to blame. So it isn't a modern problem with a modern fix. It's a human problem, and it has been worked on seriously and successfully for a very long time. The backbone of this series comes from a small book by Swami Shivananda called Thought Power, and from the older sources he was drawing on. Some comes from my own teachers that I learned under their kindness and grace. What I've done is put it in language we can use, and set it next to what modern research has found, because most of us have only ever been offered one or the other. Here's what this can and can't do. It won't quiet your mind in 30 days. Anyone promising that is selling something. What it can do is give you a gap. Right now, for most of us, a thought arrives and we simply become it. Something irritating happens, an irritated thought appears, and it's out through our face and our voice before anything in us could have said no. There's no space in between. Everything here lives in making that space and learning what to do inside it. One thing before you begin. This is about the mind, but the mind sits on top of a life. If sleep is wrecked and eating is chaotic and there's no rhythm to any of it, none of this will hold. Not because the methods are weak, but because you'll be writing on wet paper. The traditions put the daily disciplines first for exactly that reason. I wrote about that foundation in a book called The Art of Balance, and it's a free at greatnessglory.com. I mention it now rather than at the end, because I'd rather you had it before you struggle than after. Nothing here asks you to believe anything, and it starts where all of them start. Sit down and watch what your mind does. Chapter 1. The passenger seat. Before I explain anything, I want you to do something. Sit down somewhere quiet. Close your eyes. Don't meditate. Don't try to relax. Don't try to be peaceful or spiritual or calm. Just sit there for 2 minutes and watch what shows up. That's the whole instruction. Watch. Go ahead. I'll be here. Now, what came? Probably something about money, or a conversation from Tuesday that you're still winning 3 days later in your head, or a song you don't even like, or your knee hurt and then you thought about the knee, and then somehow you were thinking about getting old. Whatever it was, here's the only question that matters. Did you choose it? Not, was it a good thought or was it a bad thought? Just, did you pick it? Did you decide before it showed up that this was what you wanted to think about? For nearly everyone, the honest answer is no. It arrived. We sat down to watch our own mind, and the mind started a show without once asking what we wanted to see. This is the thing almost nobody tells us, and everything else here stands on it. We believe we're the ones doing the thinking. Most of the day, we're not. Thoughts are happening, and we're sitting in the passenger seat with our hands up near the wheel, calling it driving. I want to spend this part making that real for you because it's easy to nod along to and surprisingly hard to actually see. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it, and everything after gets easier. How much of the day? Let's put a number on it because a number is harder to wave away. Two researchers at Harvard, Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert, wanted to know how often people's minds wander. So they built something clever. They made a phone app that pinged people at completely random moments during ordinary days. Not in a laboratory, in the middle of real life. Each time it pinged, it asked three simple things. What are you doing right now? Are you thinking about something other than what you're doing? And how do you feel? They did this with thousands of people, and they collected about 250,000 of these small moments. Here's what came back. People's minds were somewhere other than what they were doing about 47% of the time. Listen to that again. Nearly half of waking life is spent somewhere else. Not half of your meditation time, half of your life, half of the meals, half of the conversations, half of the drives, half of the walks, half of the time with your children. But that isn't the part that surprised them. They expected the wandering to be pleasant, that people drift off into daydreams about holidays and feel a bit better for it. That's what most of us would guess. The opposite happened. People were consistently less happy when their minds were wandering, and it didn't much matter what they were doing at the time. Doing something boring with a present mind beat doing something pleasant with an absent one. Then they did the thing that makes this useful. They checked the order. Because you could reasonably object, maybe unhappy people just wander more. Maybe the sadness causes the drifting and not the other way around. So they tracked the sequence across time, and it ran the other way. The wandering came first. The drop in mood came after. They gave the paper a title that says the whole thing. A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So this isn't a small spiritual footnote for people who are into meditation. Nearly half our life happens somewhere else, and the going elsewhere is itself part of what's making us miserable. The machine that runs when we don't. Around the same period, brain researchers ran into something they couldn't explain, and it turned out to be the hardware underneath all of this. For years, they'd been scanning people during tasks. Solve this, read this, press that, and they kept noticing something odd in the leftovers. When someone was given a task, certain regions of the brain got quieter. Then when the task finished, and the person was told to just rest and let their mind go, those same regions lit up. That's backwards. Resting should be the quiet part. What they'd found is that the brain doesn't switch off between jobs. It switches to a different job. There's a whole network that comes online the moment you stop needing to concentrate. They called it the default mode network. Default meaning this is what runs when nothing else is running. And when they looked at what it mostly does, it turned out to be strikingly specific. It talks about you. It replays what already happened. It rehearses what hasn't. It compares you to other people. It maintains and repairs the ongoing story of who you are and how you're doing. That's the machine that switches on the second you sit down and close your eyes. That's what you met 2 minutes ago. There's one more piece worth knowing, because it puts a size on the thing. A team at Queen's University in Canada worked out a way to detect the moment one thought ends and the next begins by looking at patterns in brain scans. Their estimate was somewhere around 6,000 distinct thoughts in a day. I'll be straight with you. That's one estimate from one new method, and other researchers would argue with the number. But even if it's off by half or double, the shape holds. Thousands, every day, arriving, and almost none of them requested. They saw this a long time ago. None of this was news to the traditions. They just described it without equipment. In the Indian teachings, the mind gets compared to a monkey. Not a peaceful one. A monkey that grabs a branch, lets go, grabs the next, and never once sits still. Some versions make it worse on purpose. A drunk monkey. A monkey that's been stung by a scorpion. In the Buddhist teachings, the same restlessness is named as one of the main obstacles every beginner runs into. Not an advanced problem, a day one problem. That image is thousands of years old, and it's still the most accurate description of a Tuesday afternoon I've come across. And here's what I find moving about it. Those people had no phone app and no scanner. They found all of this by sitting down and looking. One person sitting still, paying attention long enough, which means you can check it yourself. You already started 2 minutes ago. There's an old story in the Buddhist texts I think about often because it's the most honest description of this problem I know, and it happens to a monk, not a beginner. A monk named Meggia found a beautiful mango grove by a river. Perfect spot, quiet, shaded, lovely. He was certain that if he could just go and sit there, his mind would settle and he'd finally make progress. He asked permission to go. He was asked to wait. He asked again. Eventually he went. He sat down in the perfect place. And his mind flooded with exactly what he'd been trying to leave behind. Craving, ill will, cruelty. In the beautiful grove, in the quiet, he came back baffled. He'd done everything right, and it had got worse. I love that story because it kills a fantasy early, and the fantasy is expensive. The fantasy is that the noise comes from our circumstances, that if we fix the circumstances, the right room, the right cushion, the right retreat, the right amount of free time, the noise will stop. It doesn't. We bring it with us. The grove was never the problem. Do not grab the monkey. Now here's where nearly everyone goes wrong at the start, and I want to say it before you go wrong in exactly this way tomorrow morning. You sit down, you see the noise, and immediately, automatically, you try to stop it. That doesn't work. Not because you're weak or undisciplined, but because of what a thought is. Trying to force the mind quiet is like trying to smooth water with your hand. The pressing itself makes more of what you're trying to remove. We'll go into why later on, properly. For now, just know that the instruction from the tradition is the opposite of what you'd expect. Let the monkey jump. Don't chase it. Don't argue with it. Don't grade it. Sit and watch, and after a while it climbs down on its own because nothing is feeding it anymore. That's not passivity. It's a specific move, and it has names. In the Sanskrit teachings, it's called Sakshi, which means witness, the one who watches. In the Buddhist teaching, the closely related faculty is called sati, usually translated as mindfulness. Two traditions, two words, one act. And the act is this: you are not the thought. You're the one who noticed the thought. I want to slow down there, because if you take one thing from this part, that's it. Right now, most of us have no space between a thought arriving and us being it. An angry thought shows up, and a second later, we simply are an angry person. There's no gap. It happens too fast to catch. But the gap exists. It's small at first. It's the tiny moment where you notice, I'm having an angry thought. And in that noticing, something has already shifted. You're standing slightly apart from it. It's happening to you rather than as you. That gap is the entire opening. Everything that follows happens inside it. Every technique, every practice, every change runs through that one small piece of space, and the only way to widen it is to look, repeatedly, without fighting. Two ways to get this wrong. Almost everything worth doing can be done too little or too much. I spent a whole book on that idea, and I still keep finding new places it applies. This is one of them, and I want to name both ditches because I've watched people fall into each. First, too little watching. This is where most of us live, and it isn't a moral failure. Nobody taught us there was a gap. Here the thought simply is you. Something irritating happens, an irritated thought arrives, and it goes straight out through the face and the voice without passing through anything that could have said no. Afterward, if anyone asks, we explain it as personality. That's just how I am. I'm a worrier, I've got a temper, I overthink things. Notice how those sentences are built. Each one describes a permanent feature of a person, but what's actually being described is a thought that arrived unexamined and got acted on thousands of times until it looked like a trait. Then there's the other ditch, too much watching, and this one catches the sincere ones, the readers, the seekers. Here you start auditing. Every thought gets inspected. Why did I think that? Was that a spiritual thought? What does it say about me that this came up? I shouldn't have thought that. Now there's a second mind watching the first mind, and both of them are exhausting. People stuck here often can't have a relaxed conversation because they're grading themselves throughout it. The watching stopped being a light and became a supervisor. If you've ever noticed that learning more about the mind somehow made you tenser rather than freer, this is usually why. The middle is simple to say and takes years to sit in. You notice. You don't grade. You don't judge. You don't react. That's it. Something arrives, you see it. You don't hand it a report card. You don't chase it out. You don't invite it to stay. You see it the way you'd notice a car going past the window. Why this has to come first? You might be wondering why something about thought spends its opening part on something this basic. Just watch? That's the whole thing? Here's why. Everything else is a change of some kind. Later, we'll talk about replacing a thought instead of fighting it, about what you're taking in all day and how it becomes what you think at 3 in the morning, about what the mind returns to when it has nothing to do, and how to choose that instead of inheriting it. All of it needs one thing in place first. You have to be able to see a thought while it's happening. Not afterward. Afterward is too late. Afterward, you've already sent the message, or said the thing, or lost the evening. You need to catch it while it's still a thought. And you can't catch what you've never watched. Ramana Maharshi, a sage who spent most of his life on a hill in southern India, was asked every kind of complicated question by every kind of visitor, and he had a habit of returning them to something much simpler. When people asked how to control the mind, he would often turn it around and ask them to find out who it is that's having the trouble. Not to fix the mind, to look at the one who's watching it. The looking is the practice. It isn't preparation for the practice. What to do this week? Nothing complicated and nothing I made up. Watching the thoughts is one of the oldest practices there is. Every tradition that works seriously on the mind starts in this same place for the same reason. You can't work on something you've never looked at. So look, 10 minutes. Once a day if you can, a few times this week if you can't. Use paper, not your phone. This matters more than it sounds. Your phone is the most efficient machine ever built for pulling attention somewhere else, and you're trying to observe your attention. Don't hand it to the thing you're studying. Sit and write each thought as it arrives. Short, a few words. Don't fix the grammar. Don't make it sound wise. And don't skip the ugly ones. Especially don't skip the petty ones. The small, unflattering ones about people you know. Those are the most honest things on the page, and they're the ones that will teach you something. When the 10 minutes are up, look at the list again and count. How many of these did I choose? Most people find the honest answer is 2 or 3 out of 40. I'd like you to sit with how that feels, rather than move past it quickly. It's uncomfortable. It's meant to be. It's also the most useful discovery here, because it's the moment the problem becomes visible. And a visible problem is a solvable one. There's an old idea that the beginning of any real change is simply seeing clearly what's there, not fixing it, not judging it, seeing it. You can't change a machine you've never watched run, so watch it run. If something in this landed, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. May everyone's mind become harmonious.